Okay, let's have a look at how that video was made using Launchpad and Ableton. So first of all, you need this fabulous new Launchpad S, which is brighter, faster, and now class compliant. So you don't need any drivers anymore. Really easy to get up and running. So let's connect the Launchpad to Ableton Live. Let's open the preferences, which you can find in Live's preferences window, and let's just check that the Launchpad is connected to the input and output, and that also it has a track on and remote on enabled. So we want to make some sounds, so let's create a drum rack by going to Ableton's Instruments and double clicking drum rack. Now if you go to this session file, it has a whole bunch of sounds included in the current project under the recorded tab, and I know that this set of chords here I'd like to add to my Launchpad by pressing User 1 mode and assigning those samples to these pads here. So in my drum rack I'm going to add that sample to that pad, and so on. And there are 4 of these chords with bass notes in them. I also want to see the lights coming back, so let's add a MIDI track and call that light show. We're going to do some really fun things with that soon. We want its MIDI to come from the drum rack channel, and effectively that sends all of the MIDI data out of the drum rack into the light show MIDI channel and sends it back out to the Launchpad to allow fun lights to come on. We're going to create a great light show out of that soon. So let's go back to the drum rack and add some more sounds. I want to add a kick sound to this button here. So using the drum rack I can scroll up to that button and add that there. Let's add a hi-hat to here and a snare to here. So that's really built the backbone of the track. Let's add some extra chords down here too. So this button here is corresponding to this button on the drum rack. There we go. Let's drag all of those on now. So now we have 4 extra little chords. So there's one last part we're going to add, and that's the lead part. I'm not going to add all of the notes of the lead, I'll just show you how to create a few of them. And I want them to be on this button here. So I'll find those in the drum rack and do the same thing. Add this lead sound to these notes. So in each of those I can change the pitch by double clicking on the sample and transposing each of those notes up to be the right pitch. Great, so that sounds like this. So we're getting there. Something I always do is just add lots of compression after a drum rack to make it sound basically louder. Let's add that here. So we'll add a compressor. And now a multi-band compressor. So we've built the essence of the drum rack. Now let's build a really cool light display for the YouTube video. On the light show track, I'm going to start adding MIDI effects, and that can be found in the Live Devices page. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a chord MIDI device. So every time I press this button, I want these 3 other lights to illuminate. So this is how you do it. You shift these notes down by 1 each, and it creates this effect. Okay, now with the drums, I don't want them to have the same effect, so I'm going to turn this chord effect into a group, and when we do that we can access this zoning capability, which I want to stop here. do that. Okay, now for the drums, I want a vertical row of 4 lights to illuminate. Let's put another quarter down here. Have it only affect the drum notes. And let's add a vertical LED in 4 steps. There we go. Now let's add some LED feedback for these chords and do the same thing again. And now for the lead part, let's do the same thing. One thing I should say here is that one thing I really like is colour coding the buttons. So I'd like the chords to be green, the drums to be yellow, and the lead to be in red. So when I add the lead part, I'm actually going to drag on a velocity MIDI device here. And when I add a velocity device, it's actually changing the colours on the launchpad. Watch this. I'm pretty sure value 75 gives me red. But because it's a chord, I want it to be green. Okay. So these chords, now I can make green by adding velocities to each of those. Same for these. So select fixed and velocity of 125. And for the lead part, let's make that red. Okay. Now there's one last bit we really want to add to this to make it look really cool in the video, and that's a little arpeggiator I added on the main video that gives this kind of zooming light effect. So let's add that now. We'll create one more chain rack. I'm going to drag this to be close to the drums so that whenever I press only the hi-hat, something will happen. Now first off, I want it to light the LED next to it. In fact, I didn't select the right note, so this should do it now. There we go. And I want that light to suddenly flicker upwards. Now we can use the arpeggiator device to do that. Now it's only arpeggiating the single note. I'd like that to go up in steps of 4, sorry, distance of 4 and 3 steps. There you go. I want that to happen faster, so I set the arpeggiator rate to either 30 seconds or 16ths. And now we get this effect. So one last thing on the arpeggiator. Because I hit the hi-hat for a very short period of time, let's add a note length device, which should make that last for just a little bit longer every time I press the hi-hat button. There we go. So there you have it. We've added a drum rack, we've created a cool light show using the LaunchPad S, which is brighter and faster and connects really easily. Create your own sessions, have fun.